Today I'm sharing some really fun and easy kitchen DIYs with you. If you're new, welcome. My name is Jennifer and this is a little bit of Calm and Crazy. If you are returning, thank you so much. I'm always glad to have you here. I am really excited to let you know that today's video is sponsored by Cricut. I get asked all the time if using a Cricut machine is easy, and my answer is absolutely yes. But I do have 5 tips that I'm going to share with you that will make using a Cricut that much easier. As I go throughout the video and I'm sharing with you my tips, tricks, and hacks, I'm going to be including these 5 tips along the way, and you don't want to miss them. So let's get right to it. My first tip for you is get in shape. And I don't mean you physically, I mean go into Design Space and click on shape. So I am starting off with this box, frame, whatever you want to call it. This was in my daughter's room when we had it decorated before. We were no longer using it, so I wanted to update it and use it for something new. So I measured it out and then I went into Design Space and I clicked on the shape button, chose a square, and then I made the square to fit the size of the box, in this case a 12 by 12. You can also unlock it and make it into a rectangle if you wanted to. And then I started designing or choosing the text that I wanted that would fit inside of that. The reason why I say get into a shape, once I have the shape that I need or the size that I want, I can design within that size and there's no more guessing to make sure that it's going to fit on where you're going to be placing it. It takes all the guesswork out of it for you. As you can see, I went ahead and I curved the word kitchen. I love being able to do that, but you can only do that on a desktop or a laptop. You can't do that if you're on your mobile device or on a tablet. To finish out the sign, I went ahead and added is for kissing. I'm playing off the whole thing. This kitchen is for dancing, but my kids are at that age where they think it's really funny when mommy and daddy kiss. So we like to taunt and tease them just a little bit, and so I couldn't help but make this sign. To join script letters, you can do a couple things. First, you can do the letter spacing, and then you can go ungroup them, which is at the top right, and individually slide each letter over. I've gone into full detail on this before in a past video. I'll make sure I link that for you. Once you have them all linked together, you want to go back and group them together again, and then you want to weld them. Welding is super important. That way they don't cut individually. They cut as one word. After I had the saying all laid out, I remove the box, I highlight everything, I hit the attach button on the bottom right hand corner. When you want things to stay the way you have them, make sure you hit that attach button. That brings us to tip number 2, custom made. Keep your Cricut Explorer Air set on custom. This way, you go ahead and you choose your material in Design Space after you hit make it, and you never have to worry if your dial is in the right spot. I love that Cricut gave it a make it button. It makes it so simple. So hit make it, then continue. And here I have selected a few of my favorites, but if you go to the browse all materials on the right hand side, you see that Cricut has so many different materials that you can choose. I am using the premium vinyl. So I go ahead and I click that, and then the buttons flash exactly what you're supposed to push. So first the arrow, then the C, and then it just starts cutting. That simple. It really is so easy. So let's get back to this box. So I'm using some Waverly chalk paint in ink. It's just a beautiful dark black. I painted it in 3 coats to completely cover it. In between coats, I like to store my brush in a little bit of plastic. I just cut up a plastic bag, and that way I don't have to wash it every single time. I just wrap it in the plastic, and that way it stays nice and wet before I go on to the next coat. Once it completely dried, I went ahead and I weeded my vinyl, which just means I got rid of the vinyl I didn't need. And I placed some transfer tape on it and I put it onto my sign. And I think that this turned out super cute. It was really easy to do, and I really am excited to have this in my kitchen. Tip number 3, embrace the chunky monkey. Let me explain what I mean. So here I have 2 of these smaller rolling pins, and I want to get some words on them. So I'm going back into Design Space, but to fit, I actually need the words or the lettering to only be about 3/4 of an inch tall. So I'm doing XOXO and love. So I could go with some really skinny popular fonts, but that would be harder for me to work with. So I wanted to go with a chunkier font. It's so much easier to weed when you go with the chunkier font. Lot less frustration. So I went ahead, I chose a chunkier font, super easy to weed. Now, before I can put those on, I chose to use Waverly's chalk paint. This is in crimson, a beautiful bright red. Now, as I'm painting the handles, you see I'm using an index card. This is so much easier than taping it off, and it keeps me from getting the paint onto the rolling pin part itself as I do the handles. And then on the other one, I decided to paint the rolling pin part instead. Then I'm going in and I'm applying my vinyl. I decided to finish them off by adding on just a little bit of gingham ribbon. I just wrapped the ribbon around the end and tied it off into a bow and then trimmed the ends. I absolutely adore these. I love them for Valentine's Day, but if you wanted to go all year round or non-holiday, you absolutely could. These are so easy to change up for whatever your heart desires. For this project, I'm using these two cutting boards. The larger one I picked up at Dollar Tree, and the smaller one I got Hobby Lobby in the fall time. Now you can find similar ones, all different sizes, on Etsy as well, starting even under $1. Now on this smaller cutting board, I wanted to say, kitchen is the heart of the home, and I'm using a smaller, skinnier font. I know tip number 3 for Cricut is embrace the chunky monkey, but sometimes you want to go skinny. And if you do, this is where tip number 4 is really handy. Tools, tools, tools. You really need to use your tools. So here I went ahead, I cut it out, but you can see some of the vinyl is like askewed. It's not where I need it. So I'm using my tools in order to lay it back down. I also use the tools as I go to weed to really make sure that the vinyl lettering is staying where I want it. I'm just taking a lot more time and a lot more patience. If you don't want to take the time and the patience, then don't do this part yet. But just know it is absolutely possible. It just is going to require you to use your tools. Now, my 3 favorite tools are the scraper, the weeder, which looks like a little ice pick kinda, and a pair of tweezers. Any project you want to do really is all about making sure that you have the right tool. So once I got this all cut it out. Once I got it cut out, weeded onto the transfer tape, onto the cutting board, and now I'm using the scraper to make sure it stays on there. I peel off the transfer tape. I go back over one more time, just making sure that all of that vinyl is nice and adhered to the cutting board. Now it's stuck. It's not going to go anywhere, and I feel like it was absolutely worth the time it took me to do it. To finish off the cutting board, I'm using some Waverly chalk paint and ink and these 3 wooden beads. So I'm taking the chalk paint and I'm mixing it with some water to thin it out and creating like a faux stain. So once I have it all thinned out, I'm brushing it onto the bead and then wiping off the excess, and that way you can still see the wood come through. I do that to all 3 of the beads. Once they have all been stained, I go ahead and I just let them dry. Once they're dry, I grab a piece of twine and see that it won't go through, so I take some tape and I wrap it on the end. After that, once the tape is on the end and I have a nice blunt end, it makes it really easy to thread that twine right through each of those beads. When I have it done, then I just thread it right through the cutting board. I tie it off into a knot, and now I have a cute little accent on this cutting board, and it is all done. Now for the larger cutting board, I'm using a ruler and some washi tape to mark off some lines. So first I placed the ruler down that gave me my first starting line. Now I'm eyeballing the other 2 lines. I'm also going to be using some Waverly chalk paint and ink in order to paint those lines. But before I paint them, I want to go in with some Mod Podge. This is so that the paint won't bleed under the tape. So I paint on the Mod Podge and I let it sit for just a moment to get tacky, but I don't let it dry because I don't want the tape to be permanently adhered to the cutting board. So once it's tacky, I paint on the Waverly chalk paint and ink, and immediately I take off the tape, and look how crisp those lines are. Doesn't it look great? I absolutely love the little faux kind of granny sack lines. Now I could have gone in and added a couple more if I wanted to, but I decided to leave it like this. I really liked it. I didn't want to overcrowd the lines and have too many. I love the 2 cutting boards together. I thought they were really cute. This is a very classy farmhouse, but kind of boho farmhouse still. Absolutely love this. Cricut tip number 5, don't reinvent the wheel. Cricut InDesign Space has so many different images that are just waiting there for you. If you have the membership, you have access to so much. So I wanted to create some coasters, and so I went into images and I just scrolled around until I found exactly what I wanted. What's great is you can size these to fit exactly what you want to be. If you want to unlock it and make them shorter and fatter, you get to do that. Now when I got to Hello Handsome, I decided to throw in a mustache. Easy breezy, not a big deal. Threw it in, attached it to the Hello Handsome, and these were all ready to go. I click make it, and I also go ahead and I hit mirror because I'm going to be ironing these on. I need to use the reverse image. Now with iron on, you want to make sure that you have the shiny side down. This stuff is so fantastic. It really is easy to weed, and it comes with the transfer tape. I love working with it. Now, before I can get to that part, I need to get these hearts ready. So I go ahead and I sand them all smooth, and then I want to give them a whitewash. So I take some Waverly chalk paint in white and I thin it out with some water. I brush it on and then I wipe it off. And I really love this. It toned down the yellow and the wood grain really shows through still. I absolutely love this. I went ahead and did it to the other three. What's great about this is that you can make 1 or 4 like I am, or as many as you want. These make really great gifts. I got these hearts from Dollar Tree. So now it's time to get ready to work with the iron-on, and I'm finishing up weeding. I think weeding iron-on is so easy because it's not sticky. The vinyl itself is not sticky, and it comes with its own transfer tape. The transfer tape is a little bit tacky, I would say. So once I get them all weeded, you go ahead and you can lay them on the hearts. Now I'm using the Easy Press 2. I think it's super user friendly. You can go to Cricut.com. It tells you exactly what temperature and for how long, depending on what materials you are using. It's such a game changer for me. So much easier than just using a regular iron. So I lay my image down. I put it on. It told me to do it 400 for 45 seconds. I hold it. Once the vinyl cools off afterwards, I can peel it off. And I think it looks absolutely perfect. I love these. It almost has like a burnt look to it. I just can't say enough great things about it. You are welcome to use like the images I have. I'm going to have these linked down below in the description box for you. Or like I said, Design Space has so many different images for you to choose from. If you want some more easy tips, make sure you check out this video. I would like to thank Cricut again for sponsoring today's video. Don't forget to check the description box for all the links. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!